Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, when it comes to spiritual freedom, there are tons of confusion, isn't it? Confusion is there because of the unclear references. One of the unclear references is this: don't listen to your mind, only listen to your heart. When you hear this, do you understand what does it mean? And most probably you're confused with this reference. You're trying to understand it, but you're lost, isn't it? You probably do understand the mind part. Don't listen to your mind. You get the glimpse of this reference because you've been listening to your mind and you're not able to find the solution to dissolve your fear, to dissolve your conflict, to dissolve your drama, isn't it? When you listen to your mind, there's too much ideas. You don't know which one to pick. So you're lost in the direction. And when you're thinking in a negative sense, you are also lost. Whether in a positive sense or negative sense, you're lost with the direction. So from your own experience, you know that listening to the mind is a never-ending game, never-ending solution. There's always something. So the overthinking is adding more stress in your life. So from your experience, that listening to the mind is a never-ending game. Now, especially people are lost with the reference, listen to your heart. For a lot of people, this doesn't make sense. Now, listen to your heart is confusing because there's a physical heart, and then there's a emotional heart, and then there's a true heart. So there are three kinds of hearts. When we use the term heart, the physical heart is which keeps us alive, pumping the blood, right? Without the heartbeat, we don't exist. The body just gives up. And this is not the spiritual heart. And then there is another emotional heart. Emotional heart is basically byproduct of the mind. When you have taken something seriously, some identification seriously, and you're trying to prolong it, and everything is built on that identification, you are emotionally involved, you're psychologically involved to maintain that identification. So it's the further construct. And that is the emotional realm. And maintaining that emotional entanglement itself is separating oneself from the truth. It's like it's me and my way. And pretty much the whole world is moving in that way. It's my stuff, and I want to move it in my own direction, however I want it. So that's the act of separation. That is the act of the ego playing the role. Definitely, there's a healthy emotion and unhealthy emotion. But when it comes to truth of who we are, we got to go beyond the emotion, beyond the mind, and beyond the emotion. because they both are not true when it comes to who you are truly. Now, listening to the emotional heart is it's not freedom. It doesn't dissolve the fear in your life. It doesn't dissolve the conflict for good. And most of the time when you hear, listen to your heart, people are listening to the emotion. Listening to the emotion is listening to the mental construct, listening to the identification which is played by the ego. When the truth is missing, who you are is an ego. When you listen to your feelings, when you listen to your heart, you're listening to your ego. So that's the reality right now. So when you hear listen to your heart means listening to your ego. And when you try to find the solution with that, also the game is never ending. The fear doesn't dissolve. The reason to have that emotional realm itself is the sign of fear. When the truth is missing, we are clinging to physical world and the mental reference, and that holding on to that identification and maintaining the game itself is the emotional game. And trying to find the solution for the conflict, to dissolve the fear, looking into the mind and moving with the emotion is a never-ending struggle. Relying on the mind and emotion is already struggle, already conflict. Life is already conflicted. So, it doesn't give you the true solution, especially when it comes to figuring out the true freedom or figuring out the truth of who you are. The mind, the emotion, they all gotta go. Now there's the third heart is the spiritual heart. Now this spiritual heart is the silent observer in you. That is the consciousness itself. So, when you hear the idea, listen to the heart. And this spiritual heart doesn't even make the sound. So what do you listen? How do you listen to this heart when the heart is not making the sound? The physical heart makes a sound, but the spiritual heart doesn't make the sound. How do you listen? So that's why when we label the spiritual truth as a heart is very confusing. Confusing again because it doesn't even make the sound. And people are trying to sit down in the meditation, in the quiet practice to listen. And when they do that, what they're trying or what they get from that listening is still the ripples of the mind. And its byproduct, which is the emotion. That's why people are failing to be free in their spiritual freedom, because in the quiet practice, people are still looking in the mind for the answer, where the mind is already false in the first place. Definitely, you will always see the upgraded mind, refined mind, sophisticated mind. When you look into the mind, you get sophisticated references, upgraded references. no matter how upgraded they are, still false. Again, going back to listening to the heart, the spiritual heart, doesn't make sound. And that heart is the truth of who you are. And that is the silent observer in you. And that is the consciousness itself. And the nature of the consciousness is conscious and empty. Empty. So the nature is already empty. So how can you listen to the spiritual heart? That's why labeling, using the heart idea in the spiritual journey is confusing. And people keep using this reference. We should just use the simple language. Truth is already there, the unchanging truth. Simple. Absolute truth. Unchanging truth or absolute truth is not an idea. And right now, listen to your heart is simply waiting for the refined ideas, highest meaning. That's what people are looking in this spiritual path. That's why people are failing to recognize their own true nature. The true nature is simple, present in the plain sight, which is without the mind. To reclaim who we are, or to reclaim the spiritual heart, we gotta be empty. We gotta get rid of all the sound, the mental sound. We gotta get rid of that. And how do we do that? Is witnessing oneself. By the way, witnessing yourself is already anchored in the truth. That itself is the heart, by the way. So you gotta witness yourself. You gotta turn the awareness back to yourself. And you gotta trace your mind backward. Trace your experience backward to see the source of the experience, source of your belief. Once you see the root of your belief, root of the experience, then you gotta eliminate the root as well. You gotta let go the root. And that's where you will experience fear of letting go. Right now, who you are is an identification, and your life is built on that identification. And all identification is the physical connection and the mental connection, emotional connection, and furthermore, which is the psychological connection. And they are simply the layers on you as a mask. You're wearing that mask and you're representing yourself in the world. In the relative world, yes, you have to have an identification and you move with that. That's how it works in the world. But when it comes to spiritual freedom, you have to give up your mask. You have to investigate your mask, why you wear the mask and why you play the game with that mask. You have to investigate. So investigating is the way to figure out the root, and you have to give up the root as well, which is the ingrained conditioning in you. And when your life is supported by that root, when you have sudden flow as a positivity, as fun, as stability, whatever support is there, and you're comfortable with that support. Now, spiritual journey is asking you have to give up that to figure out the truth of who you are, and that's where giving up becomes tough. Giving up becomes tough. The ego self doesn't want to give up because the ego self don't want to give up because ego self is about expanding the experience, the idea, expanding the mind, refining, upgrading. That's how the ego thrives. That's how you are thriving, because of the layers. And you're continually seeking. When the truth is missing, you are an ego self, the contracted self, the self that is missing out the truth. So basically, when the truth is not there, everybody is egotistical and trying to maintain the game to create that kingdom for oneself. And the kingdom must come down. The kingdom must be dismantled to see the true self, to see the absolute truth. You can hold on to the kingdom and be free at the same time. You can. Especially in the spiritual journey, you can. Any layer that you hold on to, that itself is a barrier. So, when you are receiving the comfort from the identification, you naturally will have a hard time to let go. And without letting go, you can see the truth. And now, when you have a hard time letting go, don't resist this practice. When you're having a hard time letting go now you investigate further. That's the journey. It's the self-inquiry path to understand the self. So when you feel the fear, don't give up. Giving up is a way to say to yourself that I'm okay with my struggle, I'm okay with my fear, I'm okay to go with this mundane lifestyle. You are saying that if you're ignoring the path. But there's the idea in you that I want to be free. So the idea is there. The idea for freedom is there. It's always going to be there. Life plays in that way. Life puts you in a situation that you seek for freedom. So, realizing the truth of who you are is about letting go. And don't be scared. Now ask yourself, why am I afraid to let go? If you be part of this self-inquiry, why do I have this fear of letting go? Now, if you investigate, if you trace your mind backward on your fear, you'll see the layers of fear. Ultimately, you will see the fear of being nobody, or fear of death. You'll understand the ego self when you're tracing the mind backward. You'll understand the ego's game. So, be part of the self-inquiry. Ask yourself, why am I afraid to let go? And one has to be part of this journey to be free from their own mind, to be free from the emotional entanglement and psychological entanglement. So That's the journey. Okay? You can only reclaim your heart. Again, if you like the idea heart, you can only reclaim your heart by deconstructing your mind. And deconstructing the mind is stepping back from all the identification that you have in you right now. So make a habit of doing the self-inquiry every day, and that builds up your practice, that fuels you. Self-inquiry will help you to make your life better in the relative sense. Your life becomes simple. And also, that simplicity prepares you further, supports you further to go all the way to see the truth. Okay? So, that's the journey. So again, if you're confused with the idea, listen to your heart reference, it simply means reclaim the truth. You cannot listen to your heart. No. You cannot listen to your heart. Because you are the heart. You are the heart. And that itself is a consciousness. And to reclaim the heart, you have to dissolve all that is false in you. And what is false is your mind and its byproduct, which is the emotional entanglement and psychological entanglement. How to reclaim the heart? Dismantle, 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 dismantle. That's all. Dismantle all the way until nothing is left in you. And then ask yourself, who am I? And when you ask, who am I? That's where you make it click. And if you don't make it click, that means you haven't dismantled your layers in yourself. You're holding on to the layers. Your approach is biased right now, not thorough. The enlightenment journey is about being thorough, dismantling every attachment in you until you get to the truth. Okay? I hope this video makes sense to you. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.